0600 hours. The crisis boards at U.S. Southern Command headquarters exploded with red-level threat alerts as NORAD satellites detected an electromagnetic anomaly 150 nautical miles from Key West that shattered every assumption about Western Hemisphere security. The Venezuelan megavessel Simón Bolívar, a $5.8 billion North Korean engineered warship disguised as a Red Cross hospital carrier, was broadcasting humanitarian distress frequencies while radiating the thermal signature of a ballistic missile platform. Below the surface, North Korean Sang-O-class mini-submarines were deploying beneath fishing trawlers, establishing a clandestine missile corridor 90 miles from Florida. The USS Winston Churchill locked fire control radar onto the floating fortress as P-8 Poseidon aircraft dropped sonobuoys into attack formation. One premature trigger pull and the Caribbean would become a three-front battlefield involving Caracas, Pyongyang, and Beijing, making the Cuban Missile Crisis look like a practice drill. Venezuela believed it had outmaneuvered the Monroe Doctrine, but just as North Korean missile guidance systems began their activation sequence, a devastating revelation appeared on Pyongyang's satellite feeds, stunning every commanding officer aboard the Simón Bolívar. What was really happening in the cyber shadows beneath the ocean? To understand why North Korea would risk its military reputation on a Trojan horse gambit in America's backyard, you have to examine the desperation logic of the Hermit Kingdom's export warfare strategy and how they turned a humanitarian vessel into a floating war crime. The blueprints were born in Pyongyang's most classified naval engineering bureau in early 2023, codenamed Project Mercy Shield. North Korean strategists had studied every U.S. carrier strike group deployment pattern in the Pacific and identified a fatal blind spot. Humanitarian vessels operating under international Red Cross protocols receive minimal electronic surveillance and are never boarded without diplomatic catastrophe. The Nampo shipyards, normally reserved for rusting cargo freighters, became a hermetically sealed construction zone where 800 hand-picked engineers worked in 72-hour shifts beneath camouflage netting, visible only as grain storage facilities to Western satellites. The Simón Bolívar's keel was laid using a decommissioned Panamanian hospital ship purchased through shell companies in Singapore. But beneath the authentic operating theaters and sterilized bays, North Korean metallurgists installed a secondary skeletal framework of reinforced titanium, creating a hidden lower deck housing 12 vertical launch cells for KN-23 hypersonic missiles. Each cell was thermally insulated with graphene composite shielding to mask heat signatures during satellite passes. The genius of the design was its modular deception. The ship could pass any visual inspection because it genuinely contained functioning medical equipment on decks 1 through 3, while decks 4 and 5 existed only in North Korean Naval Command schematics. Venezuela provided the flag, the crew uniforms, and plausible deniability. North Korea provided the $5.8 billion technological nightmare that could bypass every early warning system protecting the eastern seaboard. At 0715 hours, the Simón Bolívar began broadcasting on International Maritime Distress Frequency 2182 kHz, claiming catastrophic engine failure and requesting immediate humanitarian corridor access to Cuban ports. The message was pitch perfect, complete with background sounds of medical alarms and Spanish-language crew panic that matched IMO emergency protocol training. Venezuelan diplomats simultaneously flooded UN channels with urgent requests for Red Cross escort vessels, citing 340 tons of insulin and dialysis equipment destined for Havana's overwhelmed hospital system. But 22,000 feet above the Caribbean, an RC-135 rivet joint surveillance aircraft was painting a very different picture. Advanced infrared sensors detected rhythmic thermal blooms emanating from the ship's lower decks, heat signatures cycling every 90 seconds in patterns consistent with cryogenic cooling systems used to maintain hypersonic fuel at -160 degrees Celsius. The medical refrigeration units listed on cargo manifests would require 1/10 the energy output NSA analysts were measuring. At 08:43 hours, U.S. Cyber Command cross-referenced the distress call's audio watermark against North Korean naval communications previously intercepted near Wonsan. The background medical alarms contained embedded frequency markers identical to KN-23 missile silo environmental controls. Someone had forgotten to strip the acoustic metadata. The USS Winston Churchill's captain received flash traffic from Southcom. Target vessel is active weapons platform. Distress signals are tactical cover. Rules of engagement authorized. Maintain standoff distance 12 nautical miles. Prepare interdiction. The real threat wasn't floating on the surface. It was crawling along the ocean floor at 4 knots, using the Caribbean's complex acoustic environment as a cloak. U.S. Navy sonar operators aboard the USS Winston Churchill began detecting anomalous subsurface contacts at 09:20 hours, but the signatures defied conventional classification. The returns appeared biological, matching the acoustic profile of migrating humpback whales known to traverse the Windward Passage during winter months. Except humpback whales don't maintain precise geometric spacing intervals of 800 meters. What Southcom was tracking were 3 North Korean Sang-O-class mini-submarines, each 34 meters long and capable of deploying special forces or torpedo salvos from depths invisible to standard surface radar. The North Koreans had studied U.S. Navy acoustic filtering algorithms for years, knowing American sonar systems were programmed to ignore biological noise to prevent false alarms. By layering mechanical camouflage beneath organic decoys, they'd created invisible launch platforms capable of releasing wire-guided torpedoes that could reach the Winston Churchill in under 4 minutes, turning the Caribbean into a submerged minefield where every fishing boat became a potential weapons depot. At 0:10:15 hours, 2 P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft launched from Naval Air Station Key West, each carrying 129 next-generation sonobuoys equipped with machine learning algorithms trained on 40,000 hours of marine mammal vocalizations. The technology had been developed specifically to counter adversaries using biological acoustic camouflage, teaching AI systems to distinguish between genuine humpback whale songs and synthetic recordings by analyzing micro-variations in harmonic overtones that biological larynxes produce but digital speakers cannot replicate. The Poseidons established a search grid pattern 200 meters above the water, dropping sonobuoys every nautical mile in a tightening spiral around the fishing trawler formation. Within minutes, the AI began filtering the acoustic chaos. Genuine humpback calls exhibited natural frequency drift as the animals moved and breathed, their songs shifting pitch by 0.3 to 0.7 hertz per measure. The whales beneath the Venezuelan trawlers maintained mechanical precision, their calls locked at exact frequencies with zero biological variation. At 10:42 a.m., the tactical picture crystallized. Beneath the synthetic whale songs, pattern recognition software isolated a faint 11 Hz rhythmic pulse, the acoustic signature of North Korean electric motor coolant pumps cycling to prevent battery overheating. The submarines had been operating in silent running mode, but physics doesn't negotiate. Heat must be expelled, and expelling heat creates vibration. The invisible became visible. 3 Sang-O-class submarines appeared on digital battle displays, their positions updating every 20 seconds as the AI Sonobuoy network tracked the titanium shadows gliding beneath America's maritime threshold. At 11:28 a.m., the USS Winston Churchill's cyber warfare suite initiated Operation Ghost Protocol, the most audacious electronic attack ever attempted against a North Korean weapons system in real-time combat conditions. Intelligence analysts had spent 18 months reverse engineering KN-23 missile guidance architecture from fragments recovered after test launches in the Sea of Japan. They'd discovered a critical vulnerability. The missiles relied on continuous satellite data link updates during their terminal phase, receiving course corrections via encrypted burst transmissions from Pyongyang's military GPS network. U.S. Cyber Command didn't try to block the signals. That would trigger immediate manual override protocols. Instead, they performed surgical data injection, inserting microsecond delay false coordinates into the satellite uplink stream that the Pyongyang's Naval Command Center was transmitting to the Simón Bolívar's fire control computers. The corrupted targeting data was mathematically elegant. It preserved the missile's ballistic trajectory profiles to avoid triggering onboard error-checking algorithms, but shifted impact coordinates by precisely 47 nautical miles northeast, ensuring any launch would detonate harmlessly in deep Atlantic waters. The beauty of the attack was its invisibility. North Korean weapons officers aboard the Simón Bolívar saw green status indicators across every system. Their guidance computers confirmed satellite lock. Target acquisition showed Miami's port infrastructure centered in crosshairs. But the crosshairs were aimed at nothing but empty ocean, a digital mirage that would turn their $5.8 billion fortress into a monument to catastrophic failure the moment they pressed launch. At 12:15 a.m., U.S. Cyber Command escalated from surgical precision to total informational warfare. Having mapped every node in North Korea's military satellite constellation over the previous 6 hours, NSA cryptologists identified the encrypted command frequency linking Pyongyang's naval command to their advisors aboard the Simón Bolívar. The channel operated on a dual authentication protocol, requiring matching authorization codes from both North Korean and Venezuelan command structures before executing irreversible tactical decisions like launches or scuttling operations. Operation Mirror Trap exploited this dependency with devastating efficiency. Cyber warfare specialists began injecting fabricated emergency abort messages into the Venezuelan naval frequency, using authentication tokens stolen from compromised Caracas Defense Ministry servers 3 weeks earlier. Simultaneously, they broadcast contradictory proceed as planned orders through North Korean channels, creating a schizophrenic command environment where 40% of incoming traffic directly contradicted the other 60%. Within 8 minutes, the encrypted chatter between the Simón Bolívar and Pyongyang descended into frantic clarification requests. North Korean weapons officers demanded verification codes. Venezuelan liaison officers insisted they'd received no abort orders. Both sides began emergency authentication challenges that consumed precious bandwidth, paralyzing decision-making velocity.
At 12:29 a.m., intercepts confirmed the psychological breakpoint. A North Korean naval attaché screaming in Korean over unsecured radio. Which orders are real? Repeat, which headquarters is compromised? The Americans had turned North Korea's command structure into its own worst enemy, weaponizing paranoia at the speed of light. At 13:47 a.m., with command chaos spiraling and U.S. warships tightening their cordon, the North Korean contingent aboard the Simón Bolívar executed their predetermined escape protocol. 17 civilian engineering advisors, actually DPRK Navy missile guidance specialists and cyber warfare officers, were sealed inside climate-controlled diplomatic cargo containers marked with Cuban embassy insignia and loaded onto the freighter Camagüey, which had been loitering 40 nautical miles north under the guise of routine Havana-bound commercial traffic. International maritime law prohibits inspection of sealed diplomatic pouches and containers without host nation consent. North Korea was gambling that the U.S. wouldn't risk a diplomatic firestorm by violating Cuban sovereignty to search what official manifests listed as embassy archives and cultural materials. They gambled wrong. At 14:20 hours, 2 Coast Guard MH-65 Dolphin helicopters intercepted the Camagüey in international waters. Boarding teams didn't rely on legal ambiguity. They used thermal imaging that revealed 17 human-shaped heat signatures inside containers supposedly holding paper documents. Under maritime interdiction protocols authorizing search of vessels suspected of smuggling human cargo, inspectors cut the container seals with plasma torches. Inside, North Korean officers sat in ergonomic chairs surrounded by encrypted satellite phones, shredded technical manuals, and USB drives being magnetically erased in real time. One officer had a diplomatic passport listing him as a cultural attaché, despite wearing a North Korean naval intelligence uniform, with his rank insignia still visible beneath a hastily donned civilian jacket. At 15:38 hours, Venezuelan Defense Minister Admiral Carlos Mendoza appeared via emergency video conference before the Organization of American States, his face ashen with what diplomats would later describe as either genuine shock or masterful theater. With 17 North Korean naval officers in U.S. custody and satellite imagery of missile silos beneath medical decks circulating through classified channels, Caracas faced an existential choice: defend the indefensible or sacrifice the operation to preserve the regime. Mendoza chose survival. He declared the Simón Bolívar mission an unauthorized rogue operation orchestrated by a naval faction loyal to hard-line elements within Venezuela's military that had been infiltrated and manipulated by foreign actors. The disavowal was surgical. Venezuela released encrypted communications showing that operational orders for the Simón Bolívar originated from a now-purged naval intelligence cell in Puerto Cabello, conveniently commanded by officers already under house arrest for unrelated corruption charges. Caracas provided berthing records, fuel requisitions, and maintenance logs, demonstrating the ship had undergone unauthorized modifications during a 6-month refit period when it was supposedly under quarantine protocols. Within 2 hours, Venezuelan Naval Command transmitted unconditional surrender coordinates to the Simón Bolívar's bridge, ordering the crew to cut engines, disable all weapons systems, and prepare for U.S. Coast Guard boarding, transforming their $5.8 billion gambit into diplomatic roadkill. At 17:55 hours, the USS Winston Churchill's boarding party secured the Simón Bolívar's bridge without resistance. Venezuelan crew members lined the deck with hands raised, many visibly relieved the standoff had ended without bloodshed. The remaining North Korean technical staff had already destroyed encryption devices and wiped guidance computers, but the physical infrastructure remained intact, an intelligence windfall beyond any CIA analyst's most optimistic projection.
By 19:30 p.m., 2 Navy tugboats were towing the massive vessel southwest toward Guantanamo Bay at 6 knots, escorted by destroyers maintaining a defensive perimeter. Within 48 hours, the isolated naval station transformed into a classified forensic laboratory as NATO technical exploitation teams descended with ground-penetrating radar, spectral analysis equipment, and materials scientists specializing in reverse engineering foreign weapons systems. What they discovered exceeded initial assessments. The 12 KN-23 hypersonic missiles represented North Korea's latest guidance innovations, including AI-assisted terminal maneuvering algorithms and composite ablative shielding materials previously unknown to Western intelligence.
The titanium launch cell engineering revealed manufacturing techniques suggesting Pyongyang had achieved precision metallurgy capabilities analysts believed were still 5 years beyond their industrial capacity. The Simón Bolívar, once Venezuela's sword aimed at American vulnerability, now sat dissected in Guantanamo's dry dock, transformed from existential threat into the most comprehensive North Korean weapons intelligence ever captured, its secrets illuminating the Hermit Kingdom's global ambitions, one decoded schematic at a time.